Hello and welcome. It is an absolutely wonderful day. Welcome to your Saturday night. I'm your Saturday night, and we are here for some painting. It's been a little bit since we got together for this, but we are going to be continuing on with a piece. I just have a canvas up at the moment because I had an idea. I was getting all set up. This is not what I'm painting tonight. I'm just going to be clear on that. This is not actually what I'm painting tonight. I'm going to jump onto a piece I was working on previously. But I just had this idea really quick, so I pulled this up. So I had an illustration, was a drawing. I had a drawing I had done a while ago, and I just went ahead and I just kind of roughly sketched it onto a canvas as an idea for something to do later. But that's not what we're doing tonight. We're going to be getting onto a painting I was working on previously. But hi everybody, I'm your Saturday night. We are here for art night, so let me give a quick little intro. If you've never been here before, we get together to do painting. We paint, we enjoy ourselves, and generally just have a good time. And in that good time, we go ahead and we run through just basic painting and conversation and some storytelling. Storytelling, I am to understand, is an incredibly valuable part of not just the live experience, but so many other experiences we go through. And we are here today in my studio and art space. I have my palette, I have my paints, I have all of my good stuff. But if you have not caught these before, make sure to follow if you're not already following, and either jump over to my Twitch. You can follow me there at Your Saturday Night. You can find me on YouTube as Your Saturday Night. There should be links either in the description for the video that you're watching now, or somewhere nearby, either in the chat or otherwise. But let's go ahead. I'm going to leave one other thing out. For those who are interested, you can always go over to my website where you can find my originals, my prints, my originals, my prints, all that fun stuff. I also have merch. I have t-shirts, I have bags, I have sweaters, I even have leggings. And I have a sketchbook, a small travel size sketchbook, which you can get a copy of, which has some of my original art on the cover. But I'm just going off. We're here in my studio space. It's my little library. You can see my little library behind. I do have another light that normally is behind these things that I do, but it does not want to turn on, so we're not using it today. So yeah, this is going to be a painting that I work on at some point in the future, because I've already sketched out, and it's really just going to be a recreation of a drawing I did. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun when we do that. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to redoing this drawing as a painting. There are not a lot of my drawings that I redo as paintings, so when we do it, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Let me get this out of the way, though, because this is not what we're working on tonight. I'm going to talk about it again, but this is not what we're working on tonight, so let's get it out of here. We are working on the continuation of this piece. Oh, and this is a fun piece indeed. This is a kind of a concept I came up with for like my inner monster, my inner darkness, that little voice inside my head that I struggle against. So we're going to discuss that as we get going. I already have a brush picked out. I'm going to go ahead and get some paints. I use primarily acrylic paints, and the paints that I use are available through my Amazon storefront. If you're interested, you can always get some. But I need to get a little bit of this paint right now. I need to go ahead and get my palette set up. And as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about a couple of things. So thing number one, and actually this is a pretty important thing. Thing number one, what is that little voice that we fight against? Now, everyone's going to have their own little voice that they fight against. Everyone's going to have their own inner turmoil, as it were, their own little monster, their own inner. And it's not even an inner darkness, it's actually just something about ourselves, some aspect that we need to be mindful of. So let's talk about being mindful of what we feel. Have you ever been in a situation where you really know, like, you have to be mindful? You have to be mindful, you have to be thoughtful. Oh, in case I forgot, I do have captions enabled for anyone who might need them. Don't want to forget that. But if you've ever been in a situation where, you just have a lot going on inside, you have a lot of different feelings, a lot of different emotions, and maybe you're struggling a little bit with how to deal with some of those things, then you're in good company. And I mean that sincerely. You are in good company. Because a lot of us actually have that experience. That experience of so much. So much more than we can express. I will make that a little easier to follow as we go along. I just have a lot on my mind. So, as a creator, as an artist, as a doer, sometimes I have these feelings that I just cannot escape. Absolutely cannot escape. And why can't we escape them? Why is the chatter of the incessant chatter of a creative mind, why is that so hard to fight against? Why is that so hard to push against? There has to be lots of reasons why we fight ourselves. I'm sure right now you can probably think of moments where you've had to fight yourself. And if you can't think of any moments right now where you had to fight yourself, thank goodness for you. Thank goodness for you. But let's go ahead. I'm just going to move right along. I got a bunch of stuff to talk about. First things first, though, I got some painting to do. So we have my palette ready. I got all these fun colors here. Fun colors all set up on my palette. And there's some stuff I need to do. So let's have a little conversation, shall we? Sometimes life is weird. And the weird parts of life are where I actually derive a lot of my basic inspiration. Those places where we can find ourselves overtaken. Do you ever get overtaken by your own thoughts? Do you ever get completely and totally overshadowed by what is going on inside your own mind? And on that note, additionally, do you ever just feel like it'd be easier if you could just quiet all your thoughts? Just have everything simmer down for a little bit. I do. I have those moments. I have those moments where, my goodness, it would just be so much easier if I was completely and totally in charge of what was going on right now in my head. And I do mean it, like, completely. That would be the best if I was just completely in charge of my own thoughts. That's one of the really uncomfortable things about creativity. At least for me. I don't always feel like I'm in control of my own thoughts, my own ideas. I am a conduit. Probably sounds a little, I don't know, obscure. But that's the way it feels sometimes. Like, I'm a conduit for stories. Like, I'm a conduit for creativity. Like, someone else is always at the wheel. There's a really good possibility that someone else is at the wheel when I get into these creative modes, when I get these various ideas. This other set of perspectives, other set of ideas. So I'm using a couple of, just so I don't lose track of what I'm doing, I'm using a couple of different kind of fruit flesh colors. So I have apricot, and I have some vermilion here mixed in. And I really like the way they look. Hopefully you do too. One of the big things I want to do right now is kind of grab some highlights, grab them up, have them start popping. We got a lot of form and shape, but I don't want to lose track of everything I'm saying, so let me just continue on. Creativity sometimes is a bit of a struggle for me. I feel very overwhelmed by some aspects of it. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing to be overwhelmed by something. We often kind of pin it as a bit of a bad thing, don't we, though? You know, oh, you should definitely be able to focus your own mind a little bit more than that. You should probably be able to keep yourself in the driver's seat. But that's not necessarily how life is. We are not always in the driver's seat of our own actions. And that is kind of one of the ways I approach creativity. I am not the one who makes every last decision. I'm not the one that really puts the pin in and says, that's how that's going to be. I am the one who creates the final thing. I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of babbling a little bit, but I do have a point I'm trying to make, and I'll get there as we go. I think a lot of that point, though, really kind of falls in the necessity of the act. The act. Do forgive me as I go on a little bit. a lot to be done. Lot to be done. Just need to change brushes here for a second. Get this big old filbert. Despite the kind of harshness that initially was here, I really want to add some more light. No matter where you are right now, feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're from. I think that actually would be great. Or let us know what you're doing. Both of those things would be awesome. Maybe you have something good going on with your weekend, with your Saturday. Maybe you have something fun going on in your life. Feel free to share. This is a place where literally you can just share the fun stuff that might be going on with you. We're going to have a lot going on with this piece before I'm done. But there's just some stuff I really want to do. So I'm going to try to work it in here as best as I can. Do the best we can with what we have. So let's talk for a minute about storytelling. I am a storyteller. I'm a writer. I make... Well, okay. Let's correct that already. I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller. I do poetry, short stories, novels, films. All this fun, creative stuff. You know, one of the important things about that creativity is finding what makes sense. Hopefully I'm not babbling too much as I go along. I probably am. You know what? I'm just going to keep talking. Don't forget, there are captions if you need them. We're just going to keep going forward, though. There's the chair. Got a little white in here. I want to lighten up some of these areas. Ended up getting really dark around the eyes. There's some effects I actually want to kind of accomplish here. And part of that is going to be done by giving this character kind of a little bit of panache. A little bit of panache. So we're going to work on that here. Like, we just did that, and that's already a lot more to the face. A lot more to the face. Just adding in some highlights here. I know that this is a really kind of stark white, but part of that is a necessity right now as I start to build in highlight layers. Depending on where you're joining me from, hopefully you've seen... Hola! ¿Cómo está? I know I don't know a whole lot of Espanol, but I can try. Great to see you, Silver Fox. Yeah, I took so many years of Spanish in school and in education in general, and I'm just not that great at it, which is a shame. And that's just something that I know I need to work on. But I've already jumped around a couple of times. I'm gonna get back on topic though, and that is storytelling, characters. So let's focus on characters for a moment. We got a nice character here. We have a nice character that is already starting to build up new layers, depth. It started off as a really simple concept, and I think that it's developing a lot more, obviously, as we go along. That should be what you get anyway. You should get additional developments to a character, to a design. And those elements, they have to come from somewhere, right? I think. So, what started as kind of this exercise in my self, my own frame of mind, has begun to take shape as a far more interesting picture. Potentially a more interesting picture. It's funny how just a few little dots of color really liven everything up, isn't it? But we're already moving pretty quick on this. We're gonna keep moving. Need to actually get some more of my apricot really fast. Because I was doing all that lightening up in there. I never really blended it. I didn't really blend it. But we're going to start to build up light. Lightness. We like light. Light is wonderful. So if you're doing anything really interesting, go ahead, share it. If you have any interesting art stuff coming up, share it. Um, I always like to hear what other people are doing. Learn a little bit about the interests that we all share. So yeah, feel free to share any really fun and interesting art related things that you have going on as we continue to create this character. I know I'm doing a lot of lightening up in areas, but I think it's just incredibly necessary for continuing to develop the final appearance of this monster. I do need to come up with a character name of some sort. Something to help distinguish her a little bit more. There's some areas that I'm lightening up a lot right now, but it's going to help me create better kind of light and shadow. I will darken it in again, but right now I need some lightness. I need lightness. you cannot have just all this dark. You know, it can look really cool, but that doesn't mean that that's the way you should be doing that particular thing. Describe the personality. So that is actually a really, really good kind of. So for this personality here, it started off. It started off with maybe that kind of conflict. Kind of a conflict. It started off with conflict. It has slowly developed into more of a quiet reverence. A quiet reverence. A kind of a peace. I actually find a lot of peace in this particular design. I find a lot of peace and a lot of kind of tranquility here. And if you look at the face, it's kind of resting, and it's almost like they're taking a breath, right? They're like, oh, you know, just. That's what I'm feeling right now when I look at this, kind of like just a breath. Just taking a breath. Just a nice, relaxed breath. But that's not really a personality, is it? That's the idea of a personality. So let's dig a little deeper, shall we? What, pray tell, could their actual personality be? Well, clearly, actually not clearly. Not clearly. We're not going to clearly anything here because this is uncharted territory. But this strikes me as someone of good intention, but perhaps also detached. Detached and not seeing the forest for the trees, if you will. Something here has been, I wouldn't say lost, but misplaced. Something here is amiss. Decisions were made that probably were not all for the best. We have reverence, hope, we have sometimes I have trouble doing this. Like really kind of picking out certain things. Sometimes I don't have any trouble whatsoever. But that actually is going to be, I think that's where I'm going to put it, is I'm going to put it in the realm of reverence and hope. But primarily reverence, actually. I feel the reverence a lot more. Someone appreciative. Not just appreciative of maybe the more obvious things, but appreciative of their surroundings, appreciative of small joys. Very small joys. that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. I think that's actually something that we could all take away: appreciation for small joys within life. What else? What else do we have here? Well, maybe fear, apprehension. Something more than that, though. Loss. They meant well. They really did. They meant well. And that meaning well, things didn't turn out like they thought. Let's think more. Let's think more. This. Ooh, no. This is someone with regret. It's not just reverence. It's not just hope. It's not just a love of beauty. No, 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 no. All those things are wonderful, right? They're wonderful. But what we have here is someone with regret. Oh, yes. I can see it now in that lightly held breath. That stop of the chest, of the heart. We have regret. But why? Exactly, why? Why regret? Well, there's something funny in my mind about truly being able to appreciate beauty. And that's sometimes we appreciate most maybe something lost from us. What kind? What kind? That's a great question. I just see it. I can see something here is lost, and in that moment of loss, when it occurred, that had a deep effect on their perceptions. That had a deep effect on their view of themselves, maybe, as well as the world. They regret what they lost, but they also regret letting that loss take part of them away. See, that's the thing we don't ever want to happen. We don't want we don't want that feeling to become more than just a feeling. And I know I talk in a lot of generalities because nothing starts from, oh, just this is the truth. This is the truth. No. We gotta build up to that point. We have to build up to it. So that's what I'm seeing right now, is I'm seeing someone who did something, who lost something, and they regret that loss. But with that loss, they have perspective and a newfound appreciation for what is there. It's probably where the reverence is actually originating from. It's probably where maybe some of their personal joys originate from. They might find happiness within their own memory. You know, with very little actually done to this so far, there's already an enormous difference. And I like that. I like that a lot. It can be a heck of a thing when we find that what used to be important is no longer there. It can be a heck of a thing when what we used to find important maybe doesn't matter anymore. And there's an extra interesting thing. Not an experience everyone has, but sometimes there is a little bit of relief in that. A little bit of relief in no longer having that thing as it was. No longer having to keep the same viewpoint on it. But let's get back to what we can tell and what we can see. I am of the current opinion. Not the current opinion. I am of the at the moment opinion that this is someone who has been fundamentally changed by their circumstance. I still think that this is some of the best hair I've ever painted. I was looking at this the other day and I realized that this is potentially, just some of the best hair I've ever done. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Alright. We're losing a little bit of our direction here, so let's get it back. Let's get it back. So, here we have an individual marked by change, kindness. Kindness. We're going to emphasize that one, kindness. Perhaps a great sense of empathy. What else? What else is here? Sometimes I have these ideas that it's hard to articulate properly. And sometimes I have the words, I just don't know how to make it make sense. It's like, oh, that makes sense in my mind. But does it make sense at all beyond there? It started off so simple. Let me clarify what I mean by simple. This started off so simple as attempting to personify and give shape to my inability to both break free from my own routine, but also my inability to ignore some of my creative impulse. And you might wonder why I would want to ignore that. It's a very good question. Being creative is not all sunshine. And it's definitely not all roses. Being creative is having thoughts that don't make sense and sometimes feeling scattered. And confused. And ill at ease. Sometimes it means not being able to just go ahead and put things out directly as they should be. Ooh, and sometimes it means dropping your paintbrushes all over the floor. I have these moments that make no sense in my mind. But I also don't think they need to. Here I've created what should be just a simple, easy character. You know? Like, oh look. She's kind of monstrous, and that's good enough, right? That's good enough. Why do I have to make it complicated? She's monstrous. But I already made it complicated the moment I added any level of extra detail in there. So let's tell a story. Right now. Real time. Let's create the mood. We have most of an hour. So let's create a fantasy right now. You and I, together, here, in this moment. Shall it start as Once Upon a Time? Does that seem appropriate? Or perhaps the most appropriate thing to do is to start at the beginning. Life is what we make it. There is no better way to start a story than with simplicity. Forgive me while I wax on, just for a moment, because we are going to create a story. Why? Because it sounds like a good idea. Let's get a little bit more color on here first, though. At night, when my mind is my only companion, I wonder about all the things that I've never seen. Have you ever done that? Got lost in the wondering? Got lost in your own curiosity? Have you ever had a moment where you think, if I could be literally anyone else, who or what would I be? Hopefully you can hear me as I continue on. In art as in life, some things are skill and some things are guessing. Some things are easy. Some things are uncertain. Some things you make up on the fly, in the moment, in the heat of your own passion. Some things you do to find clarity. Some things you do because, well, God, that'd be cool, wouldn't it? That'd just be so cool. I often go with that same sentiment. Why did you do it? Well, that just would be cool, wouldn't it? It'd just be fun. But that's not what we have here. This isn't just because it's fun. This is because of the silence at night. Left with only your own thoughts, only your own dreams, only the odd, peculiar things that you say to yourself in the dark. And I won't mince words. I come up with the most interesting of things when I'm lost in the dark in my own mind. This is one of them. This is a moment in the darkness. This is a moment of anything but clarity. Trust me, there's no clarity here. In closing my own eyes, I sometimes see myself in ways which I wish I could be. And I'm not. When I turn on the camera, when I join you for this, I go through mental gymnastics. What do I say? What should I say? And when I'm done, what will have been heard? What will have been heard? What's the personality of a dream? What's the feeling of a moment? I got off topic, I think, a dozen times while I've been talking. That's, of course, not the only thing I've done. But if this reverent, hopeful, regretful monster they have anything to teach, we will learn it in due time. You asked, why regret? What kind? I think I have the appropriate answer for that. At least, I hope I do. have an answer. An answer. I think the kind of regret that they have is rooted in the fact that they are a monster. That this is their existence. That no matter what they might do to try to escape that, at the end of the day, the face that you're going to see is going to be this. And they can't get away from that. They will always be this. But in this moment of quiet reverence, they were seen as something else. Nobody, not nobody, can take that away. A minute, they weren't seen as this. It's a hell of a thing. To just for a minute be seen differently. You know, sometimes I can't help myself. I get these ideas. And once they strike, they strike. This is one of those ideas. That's pretty dang good right now. Oh, I still have a lot to do here. I still have the horns to do. Oh my goodness. All right, let me take a moment. I'm gonna stop. I hope you're enjoying the painting. I realize the way I'm kind of going through everything that we're doing, it's not necessarily just a straightforward, hooray, here's the painting, right? Hey, here's our story. Hey, here's our character. I can't I can't always do that. Sometimes I have to admit that there's more going on. There's the curiosity, there's the confusion, there's the want. The want to tell a good story. What I wouldn't do to tell a good story. To really, truly tell a good story. To say, here's so and so. Let me take you on their journey. Let me take you on their quest. It's just not what's going to happen. Not right now. Oh, goodness, I wish it would. Oh my goodness, I wish it would. We're going to go ahead and create some folds in fabric. Because it sounds fun. Add a little distress, a little age. Continue with these autumnal colors. They look good. Boy, do they ever look good. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you so much. I think that thanks are something that we can definitely give more of in life. So I'm going to do a little bit of that right now. Thank you for the support and the kindness and the wonderfulness of you. So we're going to need a little phthalo blue really quick. There's some things I got to do. Where should our actual story begin? Sometimes this is actually the process my mind takes. I don't just grab something out of the ether and say, oh yeah. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I desperately want to grab something out of the ether, and there's nothing there. Never let it be said that art is a boring process. Sometimes it's a confusing process. Alright. So we've gotten a whole lot going on. So again, I'm going to take a moment. I'm just going to... Wow, that... Okay, that's looking really cool. Wow, that's looking really cool. There is a lot going on here. Yep. Oh, that looks cool. Whew. So I'm going to brainstorm for a minute on those horns. Horns are difficult. I don't have a huge amount of experience. But let's consider our story, because I've just been going through kind of my thinking process, things that are going on in my mind. There's a chatter. There's a chatter in the mind which sometimes just is incomprehensible, and then we grab all these ideas. So let's go ahead and start to actually put a complete idea together. Because I'm going to be fair with you, right now, even without the horns finished, this is a really cool piece to me. Like, this is just an excellent piece of artwork, in my opinion. I know that some of that kind of seems, what is it, vain? Yeah, vain. We're going to go with vain. Some of that kind of seems a little bit vain for me to say this is a really nice piece of artwork. But if you're incapable of complimenting your own work, no, you gotta compliment yourself. You have to compliment yourself. Do not let anyone take that away from you, your ability to compliment yourself. Now, Let's talk story. Let's talk reality. Let's talk this individual. Let's go to a location. A location. We need a location. And I'm thinking a cave. Not that she lives in a cave, but I'm picturing sitting next to a cave, deep within the woods. Pond, a pool, not a pond, a pool. A pool next to the cave. Pool next to the cave. Yes, I know. So, but yeah, we're gonna come up with that location right now. So I'm picturing a cave in a forest with a little pool next to it. And I think that it's hard to interact when it's your character. Yeah, I get that. I get it. I get it. You know one of the fun things about a character like this is that even if we don't know anything about them at all, we can actually come up with a lot. But let's continue. So we have, let's say, a little cave in the forest with a tiny pool next to it. Part of me really likes the idea that that pool has some sort of what would it have? We're thinking. We got this. Alright, so that's that way. Oh, let's go classic. We're gonna go classic. So in our little pool, in this forest next to this cave, definitely autumn. We are in autumn, and I see like a single, not a single. Actually, I see just a little family of ducks. And here we find our kind of monster, our, say, maybe like a dragon woman, demon woman, some sort of mystical creature as she is. And there she is in this marvelous little forest with these beautiful little ducks sitting by this pool in contemplation and loneliness. Maybe that's actually her moment of reverence. It's actually admiring nature in its beauty. Nature and its beauty. She is not like them. But they don't care necessarily that she's not like them. The trees don't care that she's not like them. The ducks don't care. Wondering how best to eat them. Oh, oh. She looks like she would eat the ducks. She just might. But here's our moment of reverence, because our wonderful monster, our wonderful creature, this woman who hides in her cave, away from the world, away from everyone who's unkind, uncaring, everyone who reminds her that she's not one of them. She has ducks. She has peace. She has tranquility. There in the forest, she can exist without having to justify her existence. And then these little ducks, these sweet little ducks, this little family, reminds her of some of the things that she's left behind. Reminds her of the world that she's not part of anymore. The hope. And there is a hope there. A longing. There's longing. But whatever could she be longing for? Perhaps acceptance. That's it. That's the beauty of the moment. Here, she has acceptance. Here she has quiet and birdsong. And no one to bother her. No one to be unkind to her. There's very few prices one could put upon something as simple as just feeling okay. Just having quiet. And that's what she has now. That she may or may not eat, with her cave, which may or may not be cold and a bit lonely. With her quiet. And one cannot put a price on the simplicity of quiet. Well, I guess you can. You can definitely put a price on quiet. Try to do a little bit of this here. I've never painted horns before. At least not like this. I like it. Hopefully you do too. I see your existence as something akin to not exactly a nymph, but definitely one of the misunderstood nature spirits. And that's how I'm going to put that. Misunderstood nature spirits. And that is exactly what we have right here. We have a misunderstood nature spirit in her solitude, in her autumnal joy, in her forest, with her cave to hide in, with her ducks to watch, which she may or may not eat. May or may not eat. And a tranquility that I think we all seek. In one way or another. I encourage you to seek out your tranquility where you can find it, however you can get it. In whatever shape it comes in. Oof. Okay, we're really starting to make some progress right now. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to keep going for a second. Because this is adding a great deal of depth, actually. Oh. Let me wish you all the most wonderfully happy of Saturdays and the most wonderfully full of lives. I hope that you find your peace, your tranquility, your pond in the forest. Oh. So just that little bit of highlighting there and that blushing really gave a far more inhuman face, which I think sells the piece so much better. All right. We are going to call this piece completed. This is... Let me move that up a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't ruin the shot. Either way, we're calling this a completed piece. And do you know what happens when we find a completed piece? Oh, and of course, we're gonna come up with a name. I don't have one yet. Sometimes it's really helpful to be able to work through some of this. So what is it? Okay, so yeah, we're dating this one. I know that I don't do that a whole bunch, but I'm doing it right now. Dating with a little tiny basic signature. I know these signatures that I do are super basic. Not not exceptional. But this piece has been dated and signed. 523 mm. For those of you who have been here, I know this has been 3 videos, 3 lives to complete this piece. So essentially, we're looking. 1, 3. So we're looking at about 4.5 hours to finish this. From beginning to end, 4.5 hours. For 4.5 hours, I consider this an absolute win. 4.5 hours beginning to end, and here we have my signed completed piece. We have some wonderful different colors and tones here. There is definitely an autumn feel. There's kind of a messiness, and I hope that I've captured a brilliance, a light, but also an inhuman quality. So I'm not going to end this stream until we come up with at least one thing, and I'm going to do that now. So in this cave in the woods by the pond where sits the inhuman creature, this wonderful monster, this woman. I know those are kind of just like so. There's a lot going on there. Watching her little ducks as the leaves fall and as the flowers shed their petals away. Oh. Oh, come on, I want to come up with something before I go. Oh, this, and she's in solitude. That's what it is. She's hiding in solitude where she will not be at the mercy of those who might not accept her for what she is. Oh, with her claws and her horns and her brilliant, glowing eyes and this very wonderful inhuman face and this multi-tonal hair. I'm really proud of the way that hair came out because that is, I think, the best I have ever done hair, amongst many other features. What is our name? What is our name? What is our name? Um, oh, goodness. Oh, I want to come up with something. I'm so proud of this one. I even went ahead and I dated and signed it. Just a little sploosh on there, a little pop, 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 pop. And we have this great skin and this hand and this face and this bone structure and all this stuff going on. We can come up with something. We can do it. We can do it before this is over. Okay. Okay, so this is what we're going with. We are um Oh, I want to come up with something before I turn this off. Something, 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 something. You know what? I'm going to go really super basic on this. What we're going to do is we're going to call her River. I know it's not super. No, we're not going to call her River. That's awful. We're going to call her. We're going to call. I can't think of any like really good autumn plants right now. What is a late autumn plant or flower? Ooh, okay. So I just went ahead. I looked some up. I looked up some late autumn flowers, and I found one that works. And if I'm mispronouncing it is fine. We're gonna go ahead. I'm going to stick it in chat, but we are gonna call her Nerine. Now, Nerine is a type of flower that actually thrives in poor soil. Thrives in poor soil, and it is an autumn flowering perennial for late bloom. So Nerine is going to be the name of this character who will thrive in poor soil. Oh, and I like this. Perfect for a dramatic end to the season. So that's great. I like it. It's an autumnal flower. Um, so we're going to go with that. This is Nerine. Sometimes you got to go ahead and you got to Google something because I needed a name. So this is Nerine. Nerine has been signed and dated. Has tons of wonderful gold and just all these oranges and reds and yellows and a wonderfully inhuman face. And let's see if we can come up with more story for Nerine at a later date with her horns and her claws and all of that. If not, that's fine. Before I go for the day, I do actually have like a sketched up other piece because I did, well, that's going to be hard to see. So one of my drawings that I had, I sketched out. So I'm going to see if I can do this as a painting at some point. I might not do it live. I don't know. We're going to find out. But it's one of my drawings and I want to redo it. So I just have that on a canvas. But for now, that's going up there. Take care. Be excellent. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to bid you all a excellent, wonderful, marvelous Saturday. You're all the best. Be well. Be excellent. And I'll see you all again real soon. Bye, everybody.